And that's really what I see with great performers in sports and business is it helps to have some talent. And then you got to have a passion for it. And then you got to be able to sustain the passion through thick or thin, because you're going to have a lot of downtimes. You're going to have a lot of times when it's not going the way you want. I think fear and doubt kill more dreams than failure. If you want to be really successful, there's a very high level of confidence that's required. How you think about yourself has to match the dream of you and the company.
In today's world, how does a brand break through the noise and become iconic? Join me, Jason Harris, as I speak with the world's leading marketing experts about how they use soul and science to build an iconic brand. Think of it as EQ meeting IQ. So let's lock in and together fast forward our marketing minds on the Soul and Science podcast. Welcome to the Soul and Science podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to sit down with Dr. Bob Rotella, one of the most influential sports psychologists of our time. He's coached legends like Rory McIlroy, Ernie Els, Nick Price, John Daly. That goes on and on. He coaches on the mental side of performance and how those mental fitness rules that he implements don't just win championships. They also fuel success in business and in life, which we'll cover in this episode. Thank you so much for your time, Bob.
Good to be here.
Bob, can you quickly give me how you got into being a sports psychologist, what it was like when you started, and how that happened? Was that something you fell into? Did you know you wanted to do it? Did it just kind of unfold? How did that happen?
Well, I played 3 sports in high school, and then I played basketball and lacrosse in college. And I was a quarterback, and I was a pitcher, and I was a point guard. And so you spend a lot of time in coaches' offices. And they were always talking about the mental game. And they were always talking about the mind and how do you get, a practice player to be good in the game. There are guys who are good in practice that didn't play well in games. And a lot of variations of that, but they were always talking about it, getting people to believe in themselves. And when I got to college, I coached at my Catholic high school for a year. And then I went to the University of Connecticut, where I coached the lacrosse team at the University of Connecticut. I was the defensive coach at 22. And I coached basketball at the local high school, at the University High School. And I just was studying while I was coaching. I wanted to learn more about it. So I started studying sports psychology. And I didn't want to study clinical psychology or abnormal psych. I really wanted to study greatness and excellence and how you separate yourself. And I found a professor who let me kind of design a program for doing that. And when I finished at the University of Connecticut, the University of Virginia hired me to coach lacrosse and teach a sports psychology class. And after a while, they asked me if I would start a doctoral program and work with all the athletic teams. And then I was doing a talk in Madison Square Garden to basketball coaches a year later. And someone from Golf Digest came to the talk, and they were starting instruction schools. And that led me to doing some work in golf, which I wasn't particularly good at, and as a player. And I started working with players, and they started winning, and word of mouth took off, and I had a career. And I did, I still do a lot in basketball or football and baseball, and then still do a lot with show jumpers in the world of business. But I'm probably more well known for my work in golf just because I've written a lot of books about it.
At what point did you sort of make the switch from coaching teams to coaching individuals?
After a few years at the University of Virginia, it didn't take long before word of mouth got around that I was helping coaches and athletes. And, people always ask me, how hard was it to get coaches and athletes to listen? And I said, God, it was pretty easy. I mean, they wanted to get better, and I spoke their language, and I spent a lot of my life trying to make psychology understandable. I'm really into, you better believe that you have a free will as a human being, and which means you get to choose how you think about yourself. And then you get to have dreams, and you get to decide what kind of dreams you want to have. And some people have really big dreams, and I spend a lot of time with people with big dreams. And a lot of people give up on their dreams. And then I teach people you got to take responsibility for how you think about yourself and you got to hold yourself accountable. And we go from there. But I basically spend my life helping people's dreams come true. And it's been a lot of fun.
I love that. And would you say by that is your dream coming true, helping other people reach their dreams? Because it seems like you always had that coaching instinct in you.
Yeah. Early in life, it was about my performance and my teams. And then it was coaching. And when you coach, you're really helping kids who have dreams of starting on their high school team or in college or being in the NBA or whatever. And yeah, I mean, for some reason, it's kind of what I love doing. And I think it's the same thing I see in athletes. I think I was more gifted at helping people believe than I probably was at X and O's. And I was pretty good at X and O's, but I was probably better at attitude stuff. And I loved it. And so when you have a gift and you have a passion for it, and that's really what I see with great performers in sports and business is, there's a combination. It helps to have some talent. And then you got to have a passion for it. And then you got to be able to sustain the passion through thick or thin because you're going to have a lot of downtimes. You're going to have a lot of times when it's not going the way you want. And I tell people all the time that I think fear and doubt kill more dreams than failure. I think everybody who's successful has had a lot of failures. So you just have to learn to kind of laugh at them or learn from them and not let them, ruin your life or destroy you because they're a part of success. But I think you got to get past fear and you got to get past doubt. And it's easy to do that if you have an optimistic view of your future. Like if you know you're going to have a great life and a great career, this is just kind of another chapter in your life story. So, it's simple as I could say it in a few moments.
Did the field of sports psychology, when you started out, was it not as so developed? Because it sounds like at UVA you started, a program there. And I guess from when you started to now, how have you seen that area change? Because now it seems like it's kind of everywhere.
Well, when I started, when I was in grad school, it was mainly clinical people or psychiatrists working with people who had drug problems, drinking problems, abuse problems, and they called it sports psychiatry. And I had no interest in that. I wanted to study exceptionality and greatness. And so I kind of had to develop my own approach to it, which I'd say it's a very positive, growth oriented psychology with people who really want to see how great they can get. And so, I mean, I used a different language. I wasn't really that impressed with, I didn't like that people were taking abnormal psychology techniques and trying to apply them to people who were healthy and wanted to be great. It didn't make any sense to me. So I wanted to study greatness and how people who were doing great things think and approach their lives and their careers and their jobs or whatever. And, and that's kind of, I ran with that. And it kind of developed into what I spent my life doing. And, for a while, I ran a graduate program where I trained students in it. I would say today, I still see a lot of pro teams and stuff hiring sports psychologists, some of them who are kind of following my approach, and some places where they really just want people to help them eliminate people who are really messed up or want to help people with serious problems. And I don't have any problem with that, but I really separate myself from those people. I mean, I think they have a job to do, and I think it's great and necessary. But I tell you, take care of those problems. I'm going to help people who are in a very different way. I'm really, I would say I'm a performance psychology. I really, we're trying to get people to do things that most people don't do. It's hard to do. It's hard to, I mean, think about it. We're trying to have a great attitude and have a great mindset every day and have total belief in what you're doing. And sometimes when you start, it takes blind faith. Um, Anyways, that's in a nutshell, that's what I'm doing.
I love it. How do you think about leaders shifting from, what you maybe a player or a team or someone who's running a company shifting from a defensive mindset into more innovation and offense?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. It doesn't really matter if it's business or sport. The coach or leader, um, I think they have to have a vision.
Yeah.
That's for sure. In other words, they've got to have a vision and a picture in their head of whatever it is they're doing, working out, and turn into something awesome. And then you got to hire talented people who are going to buy in or share that vision. And some of it is hiring talented people. Some of it is hiring people who want to buy in and be part of a successful team. Some of it is getting people to really, buy into their role on the team. Everyone doesn't always have the role that they originally wanted. They may work into it eventually, but people have to buy into their roles. And to some degree, you got to get people, you have to hire people who are people the leader knows it's okay if we lose. These people can handle it. Because really, when you're losing or struggling or facing adversity or downtimes, that's when character get revealed. And, so you better hire people who are solid people and can handle setbacks and disappointments and heartbreak. And, because when you got big ideas and you struggle,
you're going to lose a lot, right?
Yeah, let's face it. You'd be extremely lucky if you got through a career where you didn't have a lot of setbacks. And, we call them failures, but they're just temporary.
Yeah.
It's when you start looking at them as permanent or wondering what's wrong with you because you failed. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. It might have been the wrong time, or the wrong moment. I mean, there have been a lot of factors that come into play. There's even luck that plays some role. But everything I teach is we're trying to make our own breaks. And we're trying to stack the deck in our favor. That's for sure.
And really, whatever mindset you go into something with, those are the results you're going to get.
Well, the whole point is what you said. The mindset you go into it with, that's a nice beginning. Now you have to be able to sustain it. A lot of people start off jacked out of their gourd and excited, and as soon as they have a setback, they give up or dump it or run from it or make up excuses or blame it on somebody else. And, that's why when I go back to the beginning where you better hold yourself accountable and responsible. And, that it's a big piece of it, being honest with yourself. And because I think you'll learn a lot from setbacks, but you have to be willing to learn and grow from it.
When you talk about don't be seduced by results.
Yeah.
Tell me unpack that one for me a little bit. I have a couple I'm going to ask you about, but that one, it seems like so much of what you're trying to do is build champions. So results do matter for champions, but what does that mean? Don't be seduced by results.
Well, first of all, you're right. Everybody who comes to me, I mean, they come with a dream, and it's usually about some outcome or some championship or some whatever, but it's an outcome. And what I tell them, it's okay to be driven by some outcome or motivated by it. But when you go to play or when you go to work, there has to be a process that you live. So the process is what's going to help you get there. So it's okay to have some outcome goals, but I want all my players to have process goals, which are really moment to moment, day to day process goals that are about your attitude or your state of mind that you got to be in. And I want you to really take a lot of pride in the fact that you have this attitude and most people don't. In other words, there's going to be a lot of people with talent, going to be a lot of people motivated, but not a lot of people can have a great attitude day after day after day through thick or thin. And that's where you really start to separate. And, it's funny. I was brought up a Catholic, and there's something to be said about faithfulness. And I mean, I said earlier, sometimes it takes blind faith. In other words, you might be the only person in the world who sees it, or maybe you and the people in your company see it, but no one else does, and everyone else questioning you and doubting you. And that's where the process and have an attitude plays a huge role. Can you sustain it day after day, setback after setback? And it's not like you don't learn from your setbacks. I mean, you got to be able to learn from them, but you got to be able to stay upbeat while you're doing it. And that's really what we're talking about.
And then beat them with patience. That sort of ties into that, right?
Yeah, but you got to be patient and accepting while maintaining a positive attitude. If you're patient, but you don't learn anything and you don't get better, uh, well, that won't work. So you got to be patient while you're going through the process of learning about what you got to learn. Like if in a business, like, every year you're in a business, you're going to learn more about what do I need to do to be successful. So sometimes you change strategies. It doesn't mean you don't ever make any changes in what you're doing or how you're going about it or what kind of clients you're working with or your whole approach to finding clients. Um, and some of it is maybe you have to find different skilled people in different roles. Maybe you've just put people in the wrong role in the company and they're not good at it. And so, I mean, getting people in the right places and hiring the right place. And part of it is, sometimes you have to fire or let go of people who don't buy into what you're doing.
Yeah, it can't be. So it can't be like patience doesn't mean beat them with patience doesn't mean doing the same thing and waiting for results to happen.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. I said, if you have big ideas and you hire somebody who tells you all the right stuff in the hiring process, and then in the first couple months they look like the laziest person you've ever seen with a terrible attitude, you better fire them, because if they want what they want more than you want what you want, they'll win and destroy your company. And so, that's why you got to hire the right people.
It's so true. And you never know if you've hired the right person until you're working together.
Yeah, because a lot of people have learned to say all the right stuff in the hiring process, and
Yeah.
they can dress the right and talk the right, but can they live it? And yeah, I mean that's a in today's world, that's a big part of it. And I just add, a lot of people love hiring people and interview them and getting to meet them and getting excited, but sometimes those people aren't very good at firing people.
It's so true.
It's a hard thing. I mean, because most people, it's not their dream to fire people or to hire the wrong people, but sometimes you got to admit you did. And part of it is understanding, I'm not telling this person I'm firing that they're a failure or a loser. I'm just telling them, I think you got a great future, but it's not here. And this isn't right for you and for us. And, so it's not a death message. It's just, this isn't working.
The fit's not right.
Yeah.
Embrace your golf personality. That really about being your full self, or is that, not being afraid to stand out? How would you explain that one?
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever used the word like be your full self, but I think the hardest thing in the world is to be yourself and like yourself and like your personality and trust yourself and your personality when you're doing your thing. Like a lot of people turn into serious uptight nerds, when they're doing their thing. And I want them to be themselves. And sometimes it's a real quiet person, but man, they go on a sales call and they turn to magic. Um, Sometimes you have a person with an unbelievable outgoing personality and they go on a sales call and they turn quiet and introverted. You know, so I mean, I just want people to be themselves and do it their way. I'm not into fitting people into a mold. I have some strong thoughts on the mindset or the way you need to feel, or the way you need to feel about yourself, which is, you know, kind of full of confidence and yet not be an egomaniac. I mean, that's a big piece of it. Can you really, really believe in yourself, and yet when you're with your family and friends, um, not think you're bigger than life, better than life, more important than everybody else in life, just because you're a success at work? And so that's perspective. So, we talk a lot about perspective, but if you want to be really successful, there's a very high level of confidence that's required. In other words, how you think about yourself has to match the dream of you and the company. And if you say you got big dreams and then you don't like yourself, or you don't like your personality, or you don't like your talent, you're probably making up excuses why you can't do it, and that doesn't work very well.
How do you stay full of confidence when, I don't know, maybe your business is declining or you're in a cold streak or you're not winning either, on the course or in business. How do you keep that confidence level high?
Well, that's why optimism is so important. I think optimism is knowing it's going to eventually all work out. And sometimes people see someone 10 years younger than them doing better than them. They're like, well, how come that guy's that age is doing so well and I'm not? Well, who cares? This is how your life's going to unfold. And the point is, can you stay optimistic long enough until it's your turn? But I think the whole idea of optimism is just having peace of mind or knowing in your mind that it's all going to fall in place eventually. And you're just going to keep plugging along with a great attitude until it happens. Now, sometimes it's just the wrong moment. Sometimes you might be selling the wrong product. Sometimes you might be going around it. And so you got to learn and adjust. But, it's like a lot of coaches right now in college basketball and football are adjusting to this new NIL model. Like the coaches that didn't adjust, they left. And it's okay that they left. But all the coaches that are trying to win the championship this year, they've said, well, NIL's the way it's going to be. I don't necessarily like it. It's not the way I design it, but I'm going to love it and I'm going to find a way to succeed with it. So, I mean, during your career, things change a lot. I mean, if I look back on my career, gosh, I mean, I started teaching at an institution for special needs kids in Vermont. And then I coached and taught. And then I went to grad school and coached. Then I went to the University of Virginia. And then I left a tenure track position. And then I started doing consulting. And the world changes constantly. Then I started, like, I really wouldn't have ever guessed I was going to be working with golfers or business leaders. But you adapt and adjust as it goes along. And you kind of get excited about new and different things. But that's what I meant earlier when I said you have to be able to adjust and adapt, but you have to sustain the process or the attitude.
I love that. When you think of finding peace, is that part of that idea? Finding peace is...
Well, think about optimism. It's very, I think that's a lot of where peace of mind comes from in terms of success is in your mind, knowing it's going to happen before anybody else on the planet Earth knows it's going to happen. I mean, that's what blind faith is all about. It's like everyone else is second guessing you. Everyone's questioning you. Everyone else is saying, where'd you get that idea? What makes you think you could be successful? Who do you think you are? Where'd you get that crazy idea? And you're like, well, I can see it in my mind. I don't know why you can't see it. And to some degree, you can't care if anybody else can see it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But it starts with that vision, right? And then you have to have the optimistic faith in that vision.
Yeah, and that's what's so silly about people questioning you because of where you've been. Where you've been doesn't have anything to do with where you're going.
Right.
I mean, would it be easier if where you've been was always you were a huge success and the star of everything? Probably. That'd probably make it easier. But I just tell people, I mean, being huge success is hard. And so you got to do things that other people don't do. So, and again, I'll go back to the beginning. I wasn't interested in the psychology of normalcy. I certainly wasn't interested in the psychology of abnormality. Most people want to be normal. The people I work with want to be exceptional. So we're teaching a very different psychology. I appreciate people who want to be normal. I mean, it's okay to want to be normal. I don't tell people there's something wrong with being normal or average or fitting in. But if you want to be exceptional and separate yourself from all the people who are normal, you got to think very differently than most people think. And they're going to not understand it. I tell people, if you want everyone to understand your thinking and your mindset and your attitude, then go be like everybody else. I mean, that's really what peer pressure is all about. Peer pressure is all toward fitting into the middle and being normal or average. And that's not what I'm teaching.
Do people in the middle get pissed off at the people that are trying to be exceptional?
No, I think they go from worshiping them to ripping them to shreds.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know if they get mad at them. I don't think they understand it. So it's uncomfortable. And yeah, I mean, I think they go from, paying money to go watch them to as soon as they fall down, I mean, they're going to ready to rip them to shreds every time they do.
And you've seen that happen over and over.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly happens. And, we call that the noise.
Yeah.
I mean, with online stuff today, I mean, there's a lot of noise and So you got to get past it. You can't really, you basically can't care what they're thinking about it. It's like, where you're going and you know how you're going to get there. And you accept the fact that other people aren't going to understand it, appreciate it. It's okay. At least in your work life.
How do you think about this as, embracing being exceptional, being full of confidence, believing you can win, but not becoming a narcissist? You're not becoming like everything you do is amazing.
The answer is we want to be great at this thing we're dreaming of being, which is a success in sport or business or whatever. And when you leave that arena with your family and friends, you want to remember that just because you're a big success, it doesn't mean you're bigger than life, better than life, or more important than life. And we've certainly seen some people, in politics and business and sport, totally lose perspective and not approach it this way, which is why it mess up their lives. And I tell people, I want the people I work with to have long-term health, happiness, and success. I don't want it to be all about success. So you got to combine that with a perspective that allows you to be healthy and happy in the rest of your life. So we're okay with being normal in other parts of our life. We want to be exceptional in the thing we're trying to excel at.
Exceptional here, and then average and normal here. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that. That's super clear. Finding someone who believes in you. Why is that important?
Well, I think it's important because most people aren't brought up to believe in themselves. It's interesting. I worked with a lot of people over the years from other countries, and they all seem to think that everyone in America is brought up to be confident as could be. They think their parents just tell them every day how wonderful they are and how great they're going to be and fill them with confidence.
That's
And I go,
crazy.
no, everyone isn't brought up that way.
That's not true. Yeah.
But that's their a lot of people's perceptions from other countries. Um, and I think at some point, if you got really big ideas, finding, it makes it easier if you find someone else who's a mentor and believes in you. And you'd be amazed how many great athletes will tell you they wouldn't have made it if they hadn't had a coach who at some point just totally believed in them. And no matter what they did wrong, that coach said, no, you got it. You're going to make it. You're going to be really good. And they believed in them long before they believed in them. And some of them even said, I don't know if I ever really believed in myself if I didn't have that coach. I really needed that person to believe in me. And when people ask me about myself, I go, they love to ask me, like, what's your greatest skill? And, I never thought about it till someone asked me a bunch of times. And I'd probably say, for some reason, I don't know where it came from, I have an ability innately, I don't take any credit for it, to see talent in people that they don't see in themselves and bring it out of them. And just like I'm not talented in some other things, like, I don't think I would have made a particularly great physics professor, but I probably could have learned physics and gotten pretty good at it. But, I probably would have been limited. I've seen some people who really get physics from a very early age. Like I have a granddaughter. I played clarinet for 11 years, played in the high school band, played in some other band. And I would say I was perfectly mediocre. And I have a granddaughter, sat down the piano at like 7 or 8. And the first time she sat down the piano, she could, any song she heard, she could sit down and play it with beautiful rhythm and flow, and was so much better than I was on the clarinet after 11 years. It helps to have some talent at something. But I ultimately tell people real talent is in the inside of people, and you can't take a picture of it. So it's a mindset, it's an attitude. Um, would I have been better at clarinet if I saw myself as being a great clarinetist? I don't know, because I don't think I saw myself that way. I enjoyed it, but it's it helps if you have a gift and you have a passion for it. That's for sure. Because you can find talented people who don't like the thing they're talented at, and you can find not talented people who are really passionate, and they get pretty darn good. I don't know as they usually become the best of the best, but in a dream world, people would love the thing that comes easiest to them and really get in love with it. That would be really good if everyone did that.
Have you ever worked with someone who might have had a lot of these attributes, but you couldn't get them to the skill level?
Yeah, I'd say I worked with plenty of people who didn't achieve all of their dreams. But what we want is we want you to be able to get up every day of your life chasing your dreams and believing in your dreams. And you basically spend your life chasing your potential. And if on the day you retire, the day you die, you can look in the mirror with a big grin on your face and say, I got to get up every day of my life chasing my dreams, you're going to be a happy guy or gal. But yeah, I mean, there are plenty of people who are very satisfied where they got everything out of them they could get out of themselves, but didn't get to number one, didn't achieve all of their dreams, but they achieved, a lot of them. And they had a wonderful career and had a wonderful time doing it. And that's how I look at it. People ask me why I still love doing what I do. And I say, well, God, I'm still having a ball. I'm still doing what I love doing. I still, there's a side of me, this is someone who teaches belief. There's still a side of me that can't believe that I'm getting to do what I get to do every day. Because it's fun and it's what I always like doing. And I don't know why I always like doing it. I don't know why I fell in love with sport and performance and coaches and developing people, but it's what I like doing.
Do you have a mantra or a quote that guides you or that you live by? I mean, you have so many and you've written so many books, you have
I just try to get up every day loving what I do, and whoever comes to work with me, I just want to treat that person like they're going to be my next superstar, and that they got big dreams. And man, I'm here for you for these 2 days, and I'm going to be as excited with you as I am with someone who's already unbelievably good, and everyone knows who that person is. I mean, it's easy to get excited by those people, but I want to give everybody that same attitude. So, that's kind of how I live.
Bob, if people listening to the podcast, they want to dive in, you've got several different books. What book would you recommend people dive into first?
Well, for life, I'd say one of my more recent books, How Champions Think, would probably be the best book.
That's for sports and life. Yeah.
Yeah. For golf, my last book was Make Your Next Shot Your Best Shot. Probably my best-selling book was Golf Is Not a Game of Perfect. But they're all about the process and about the attitude and learning to get the most out of yourself and having a ball being on that mission of chasing your potential.
I love that. All right. How Champions Think. I'm diving into that already.
Good.
Thank you so much for your time and passing on your knowledge, and really, really fantastic stuff. And you've had an incredible career. So
beautiful. Good talking to you.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.